Hey guys, yeah, sitting by my bay window for another little chit chat. I just got off a webinar with fellow coach Anthony, and it was this beautiful webinar that he talked about his journey from apathy to feeling alive again. Now, and it was really provocative because it made me realize that apathy can come in so many shapes and so many flavors and so many colors, and it's different for everybody. So, first thing, let's talk about what's apathy. Apathy is the emotion that's on the lowest end of the emotional scale. This is the heavy, I can't, why bother, depressed, hopeless energy that is, it's contracting energy, as opposed to the other end of the scale, courage, acceptance, peace, which is open, expansive, accepting, lighter, heavy, apathy, light, peace, and acceptance. So, how do you know you're in apathy? Well, I said a few. It's the I can't, it's the why bother, I'm kind of worthless. It feels heavy, it feels like you are stuck in the mud. Add a few others. Numb, resignation. It's giving up before you even start. Now that said, that's really heavy apathy. Anthony mentioned that he had an overwhelming desire to sleep. And this is his body's and all of our body's way of shutting down, because apathy isn't devoid, even though it feels numb, it's not devoid of emotions. It's an overwhelm of emotions. There's a part of your body that said at some point in your life you needed to be protected from what you're feeling. And it's easier to feel numb than it is to feel, because feelings can be painful. Feelings can be bothersome. They can feel sad, they can feel angry, they can feel just terrifying. So apathy is a very nice place to sit and not feel. Apathy is drugs, right? Apathy is the numbingness of alcohol, which, by the way, I haven't had it. Last week was 10 years I haven't had a drink. And I totally understand that. It's, I can't deal with the world, I'm just going to have a drink or two, or, three. So my kind of apathy is different than Anthony's. Mine is the why bother comes in really subtle shades, like things like doing the dishes, or going to get some exercise, or making my bed, or paying bills. This little bit of why bother, what's the point? It's like when I look at a pile of bills, I go, what's the point? They're just going to be more paperwork and bills coming down the pike. So it can come in all flavors. And your kind of apathy, one sure sign of apathy, if you are thinking the thought, whatever. I was out with a client a couple of months ago on the streets at a fearless workshop, and he got brutally shot down by a woman that he attempted to talk. Actually, he did talk to her. But it turned out that she was very attractive and very wackadoodle. And she, when he said goodbye, she brutally hit him with, "You are a fucking creep. Take your creepy energy someplace else." So I pulled him aside and I said, "How are you feeling?" And his first reaction was, whatever. Yeah, that's what she thinks. So, and I'm thinking, anytime somebody says whatever, that means that they don't want to feel. And I get it. Being called a creep on the streets is painful at some level, either deeply painful or lightly painful, but the whatever says, I don't want to feel this. So, what can you do with apathy? What do you do with it? Well, first you got to be aware that you're in apathy. Those clues, the why bother, the I can't energy, or an overwhelming sleepiness, that happens to me. It's like there's just too much going on, and I just, I start nodding out. Be aware of your of your apathetic thinking. Your thinking is actually a clue to your emotional state often. If you are thinking, whatever, why bother, I can't, this is hopeless, that's a clue, because sometimes apathy doesn't feel like an emotion, so you have to check in with your thinking in order to be aware of it. So, what do you do with apathy once you know you have apathy? Well, apathy is like confusion. Confusion is an overwhelm of thoughts in the mind, and apathy is an overwhelm of emotions in the body. So the first thing, because it's hard to feel, so it's hard to release, is just sit in curiosity. Same with confusion. When you're feeling confused, is I know we want to solve it and fix it and figure things out and tug at all the strings, but the more you tug, the knots get tighter. So when you're sitting in apathy, just sit and be curious about it. And the first thing I would be curious about is maybe ask the question, where's the sadness? Because that's usually the first one that comes up. That's usually even just a hint of sadness means that you're lifting yourself out of apathy. Now you don't want to feel sad, you'd rather feel numb on some level. But that sadness is your clue that says you have taken the first step up and out of the morass of apathy. And by the way, just like the color white is made up of all colors, that is peace and acceptance. That's all colors, but they've loosened, they've become light, they become expansive. Your fear, your sadness, your anger, your pride, all of it is just filling you up, and you are becoming like three-dimensional and light. Apathy is the other. It's the contraction energy. This is where all your emotions are getting stuck and glued together into a little ball. So aside from releasing and being curious about apathy, and the little bit of grief is your clue that you're rising out of it, is you can do a little bit of action. Now you don't have to do a lot. Just one small thing when you feel apathetic, because your apathy says you'll never get it all done. If I look at that pile of papers on my desk that I need to get done, the little bit of apathy says, why bother? Why bother? There's just going to, be more bills and paperwork coming around next week. But if you just, like this is what I do with bills. I take a giant coffee table book and I put them on top of all the bills and the paperwork. And yeah, that seems like I'm suppressing my apathy, but there's a plan to this. Then I lift the corner of the book and pull one piece of paper out. And I look at it and I go, oh, it's just a notice from the IRS saying this is for your records. And in that small moment, all of a sudden I feel this little bit of surge of life, like, oh, this isn't so bad. This isn't a endless tunnel. And one piece of paper after the next starts to loosen up the apathy I have around something. So if you're in really deep apathy, geez, it could just, and you want to sleep, just say, I'm going to walk around the block. This starts to loosen things up, and this starts to develop self-trust that your internal world knows that you aren't stuck. And it's like we always talk about these 1% steps. Step by step, you can lift yourself up out of apathy after you just sort of let it be. I'm going to check my notes because I'm sure I have something, really brilliant to say to wrap up. Oh yeah, two other things. My favorite thing that he said is to get in touch with your feelings. This is actually a feeling is a sensation in your body, inside your body, outside of your body, as opposed to your emotions, which are the names we give, the concepts we give to feeling. So he suggested, feel something. Feel this pane of glass. This pane of glass feels cool to the touch. I can feel the film of dust underneath my fingertips and how smooth. I can hear the sound that it makes. And that's, now you're introducing feeling into your body. You can feel your body inside of your clothes. You can touch a tree. You can smell things. And these little tiny gestures start to bring the sensations into your body. So this glass may feel, to some it might feel cool and relaxing, or it might feel sort of sad and lonely, whatever your relationship with that is. So that's about it. Don't forget that apathy is there for a reason, and it was probably earlier in your life where you really could not show your emotions or share. It wasn't safe. So apathy helped you survive. So there's a blessing in apathy. It's maybe your apathy is just telling you to rest and reflect and to be curious. But once you're curious about it, it starts to lighten. You can even send it love, which I'm always talking about, sending things love. And that will start to loosen it up too. And just always be with any of these, just be aware of the mystery of it all. I know sitting with apathy doesn't feel good or feels pointless, because that's apathy, it's telling you that things are pointless. But you're actually doing something for yourself in doing it, even though your apathy says you're not doing anything. So there's a and it may not lift the next day, it may not lift the next week, it may not lift the next minute, but be curious that when it does lift, your ego voice isn't going to say, well, that's a freak occurrence, but it actually started with you sending loving curiosity, taking with these small steps, making your bed, taking a walk around the block, because it all starts with you. Got it? Now, maybe I'm going to go walk around the block. All right, thanks.